I wish people watching this could actually see what it's like backstage sometimes, because it just gives you an entirely different appreciation of the sport, doesn't it? Sometimes the best stories and the things you remember from a fight night actually happen behind the curtain, don't they, and not in the ring. It's great sport to be around.
Oh, very often, yeah. This is Josh Hargreaves, 3-0, 27 years old, boxing out of Batley.
Introducing to you firstly in the blue corner, wearing red shorts, he weighed in at 10 stone, 7 pounds, 1 ounce. Boxing this evening in his 10th professional contest, from Carlisle, Jake Osgood. His opponent across the ring in the red corner, wearing red, white and blue shorts, he weighed in at 10 stone, 3 pounds, 2 ounces. He brings to the ring a perfect professional record of 3 wins from 3 contests. From Batley, West Yorkshire, Josh Hargreaves. Your timekeeper at the bell is Chris Hancock of Doncaster. Your referee is Ron Kearney from Sunderland. Referee Ron Kearney will now give both boxers their final instructions.
Okay, lads, protect yourself at all times. Keep your heads out, keep your punches up, keep it clean. Obey my commands at all times and protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves, come out boxing on the bell. Let's go.
This is a lightweight contest scheduled for 4 3-minute rounds.
Ron Kearney in charge of this one. You've got Hargreaves on the right-hand side there, boxing out of the red corner. Sean O'Hagan just making his way out of the ring. Training Hargreaves, which gives you an indicator of the kind of standard he might be at. 3 fights and 3 wins, all against very good away corner guys. He dropped a round against Fons Alexander here at the end of May. Prior to that, he won 4 rounds to 0 against Carl Samson. Jamie Quinn took a round off him as well last November, but those guys, like the fights we've just seen in Van Poch, you've got to make it known to the Meissen early that this is not to be one that they fancy. Otherwise, they will give it a crack. Particularly the Fons. I've always been a big fan.
Yeah, I think about those guys who are all much bigger than Josh Hargreaves. Jamie Quinn in particular is a monster at the, for someone Josh's size. I think he's quite highly rated, Josh. You can see his style, can't you? He's, Sean, you can see he spent time at Sean O'Hagan's gym working with people like Warrington and Reese Mould. He's aggressive on the front foot, lets his hands go inside. I think we've got quite high hopes for Josh Hargreaves.
Just shuffling in behind that jab, just poking out that lead hand, keeping that centre of gravity nice and low, dipping those knees.
It's like a talented amateur, wasn't he? He was a 2-time development champion at national level. Did sign with Frank Warren and Queensbury, but that all came apart during the COVID and coronavirus era. Now he's fighting on these VIP shows where there's a well-trodden path for people from that gym, starting at this kind of level, as Warrington has proved.
There absolutely is. COVID played havoc with so many careers as to when fighters would turn over and the circumstances under which they would do it, and careers just put into cold storage. Our 2 fighters top of the bill tonight actually are a perfect example of that. Zahid Hussain and Razak Najib. They've had a handful of rounds between them in the last 3 years, basically. And prior to COVID, were operating around area English title level, have been on some good platforms. So good fighters, good pros, who put everything into it, and then all of a sudden there's just nowhere to go. It's the final minute of round 1. Osgood hasn't given them anything away here. Doubles up on that jab, Hargreaves. Second one got through. And that's what he looks to do to close that gap.
All action inside, isn't he, Hargreaves? Once he does get those feet close, he's not shy about letting the hooks go. He's mixing it up to head and body. But Osgood looks nice and composed, doesn't he? Holds himself well. He's no silly mistakes, and as you said, Andy, he's not giving anything away at all. Hargreaves is going to have to work for his success tonight.
Absolutely.
Thought there was a cut then with. He won't thank me for saying, well, I don't think he'd care, but veteran cutsman Frank Hopkins jumped in the ring. I thought he might have a little bit of work to do, but I think it just looks like a little bit of a scrape, doesn't it, above Hargreaves' left eye.
I'm just trying to get a look at. Yeah, it's nothing. There's nothing serious there. But he was in quick there, Frank. He was in quick. Remember seeing him at Wembley. And it just shows, you know, these dedicated pros, week in, week out. They're somewhere, aren't they? It can be Wembley one week. It can be Doncaster Racecourse the next week. York Hall the week after that, Liverpool Olympia the week after that, Rainton Meadows. It's just, you go everywhere, you go all over.
Yeah, I spoke to Frank on the Sunday night after Tyson Fury fought Dillian White, and he said, incredible, when those doors kicked open and he walked out into Wembley Stadium, even for someone who's been around it as long as Frank, it was the type of thing you just can never imagine until you're involved in it.
So into the second round here, Josh Hargreaves, he's in the white shorts, in the red is Jake Osgood. Just getting tight there and looking for the right hand into the body. Hargreaves pushed off with the forearm. The referee just had a quick word about that.
We've seen the slightly awkward, unorthodox Seamus Devlin, haven't we? We've seen Louis Van Poch turn things around, turn things over, upset the odds in the previous fight. But Osgood's your more typical opponent, isn't he? Nice and tight, poking that jab out, moving away. This is the kind of opponent that Hargreaves is going to be fighting for a good year. So it'd be good to see if he can work out a way to make an impression here on Jake Osgood. These are what we look for in young fighters, isn't it, Andy? That little bit of flair and imagination and the ability to create something when it looks like things are just plateauing.
Yeah, and it's difficult. Like you say, you're in with somebody who is looking to get through the 4 rounds, and particularly if early on they get the impression they're in with somebody who's got some ability, then they're not going to take any undue risks. It's what we were talking about previously. Away corner fighters will fancy it if they feel the fighter they're up against isn't quite at it, or just isn't that good, to be honest. But Hargreaves hasn't given Osgood any reason to think that he's going to get anything out of this if he does open up, so he's not.
It's the well-trodden path. Sean O'Hagan, who's in Hargreaves' corner, he'll tell you when Josh was 18, 19, he was small. He wasn't a fully grown man, and they used to put him in with bigger men so that he could get the rounds, get the experience, learn how to deal with these people. He wasn't blowing people away, so there'll be no panic in the corner. They won't be worried about him hurting Osgood or not getting a stoppage. That won't even enter their mind. It's just all about getting rounds, getting experience, learning how to deal with these people, and the power of it. As you go on through your career, that begins to reap dividends, doesn't it? You begin to stop people, you begin to hurt people. Nice right hand there, though.
Good overhand right, just caught him high on the head, maybe a bit round the side of the head, deep into the final minute of round 2. Exactly, he's got 3 fights, 3 wins. He's been a distance over 4 in all of them, which has been a similar resume to the previous home corner fighters we've seen tonight. Stoppage wins, your stoppage, your knockout ratio, it just doesn't really mean anything. You look at it in fighters early in their career, it just depends who they've been in with.
And if you look at Jamie Mellors in the first fight, he'll have probably gained way more from doing 4 rounds and dropping Devlin twice than if a fight had ended in the first round. So sometimes you actually gain, you do gain much, much more by getting the rounds and getting the experience in, don't you?
So halfway through this one, Osgood staying on his feet over on the far side of the ring, and as you said earlier, there's a really good crowd in here, and there has been pretty much right from the start of the card, which is always good to see.
Some good ticket sellers we got coming up later in the show. Sonny Taylor. Sonny Taylor's a big favourite, does a lot of tickets. Got Reese Mould, who something of a second home for Reese this. Saw him score a tremendous knockout of Sean Davis in this very ring. So, yeah, some good ticket sellers, and I think the shows have been good that they've put on at Doncaster Racecourse. They've been entertaining, and if you do that, you get repeat customers in boxing, don't you?
10 seconds, Thomas.
And who knows, there might have been a few people who were planning to be elsewhere this evening. and ended up here.
Second up, round 3.
So into the third round, this scheduled for 4 at lightweight. Hargreaves has dictated terms so far. He's in the white. He's been nice and busy. Has stayed on top of Osgood. He's found it difficult to get through absolutely clean, but we've been going through the reasons for that. Osgood is in good nick. Tucks up well. Just doesn't really present too many gaps at all. Isn't throwing much, I think that's fair to say.
You can tell by Hargreaves' style, he'll be the kind of fighter, but when he gets momentum in his career, when he's fighting regularly, that's going to translate to his boxing, isn't it? You know, he's a rhythmic fighter. He likes to roll forward, and if he can be busy, be active, spar properly, fight regularly, all those little reflexes and the way that he fights, it's all going to improve dramatically, I would think.
And just bit by bit, he's beginning to get to Osgood here a little bit. The overhand right just made him take a stagger step, and he's on you all the time. Yeah. He's not throwing bundles and bundles of punches, but that front foot is right on top of you all the time. Little steps to the right-hand side. That's the kind of thing he needs to do, isn't it? Just vary up that angle, see if he can find a gap. Little step off to the right, left hand straight down the middle into the pit of the stomach, a kind of Ricky Hatton move. That's one that often works. It
was, yeah. And there's another little clever move where he just bumped him away with his shoulder to try and create a little bit of space. So these are the kinds of things they'll be working on in the gym, but Sean in the corner will just want to see him maybe do once or twice in the fight, you know, just pull off the things they've been working off. It doesn't have to work every time, does it? But if he's just got the confidence to slip his feet to the right and let the left uppercut go, and it works, it's something you can take from the fight, isn't it? Like you said, Andy, there's no respite, is there? There's no pinching a break when you're in the ring with Josh Hargreaves.
He's always just moving those feet. Right foot goes where the left one leads it. Same distance between them pretty much at all times. Just trying to turn that right hand over as he backs him up to the ropes and goes down to the body. He's doing what he can here to vary things up.
Round 3 coming to an end, and pretty much Josh Hargreaves having it the way he wants it. Osgood just showing the first time a little bit of tiredness there, just putting his arms above his head, having a good stretch on his way back to the corner, but you can see the finishing line now.
So round to go here.
Ten seconds, corners.
And he's kept the tempo nice and high throughout this fight, Hargreaves. I wonder whether they'll just encourage him to try and click through the gears a little bit more in round 4. I'd imagine they will, though they won't want him to go crazy. But I just got the feeling he was putting a touch of a dent in Osgood at times in that previous round.
You don't, even though he's 3 rounds up, isn't he? But you don't want to taper off in a 4-round fight. You know, you should be finishing strong at this level. If you're a prospect, someone we've got high hopes for, there shouldn't be any drifting in the final round of a 4-round. You should be really into your rhythm, really, you know, finishing strongly now.
pokes out that lead left hand, Osgood. That's pretty much the extent of his ambition in this fight so far.
He's been pretty well organised, Osgood, hasn't he? There's been no real moments where he's come apart and looked like he was going to get himself in trouble. He's been pretty safe all the way through it. Talking to Steve Lillis, who's going to do some presenting on the main show later on Sky Channel 437, Sporty Stuff. He was saying there's been a big improvement in Jake Osgood since he first saw him.
As I mentioned earlier, he's in good shape, isn't he? He pays a lot of attention to that side of it. He tucks up nice and tight, takes plenty on the gloves and on the forearms, and just doesn't give you any gifts. He doesn't make it easy for you. He's been in the away corner right from the very start. 9 fights, 9 defeats. Sometimes you get fighters, well, very often you get fighters who start in the home corner, then pick up maybe an unexpected defeat, or they struggle to sell tickets, so they head for the away corner. And in those early days, they still want to win. And bit by bit, they kind of settle more into the role. That doesn't mean that they won't try and win on occasion, or that they don't ever get wins, but it can be a short away corner career if you're going to try and win every time you go out there.
Yeah, you usually get a few guys who no one's seen before and become and score a couple of knockout wins, and then you see them again in 6 months' time and they're just saunter into a 40, 30, 60 feet. But then you do get the odd fighter like Jordan Granham, who we mentioned earlier, who's more than capable whenever he wants of turning up and win, but knows his role down to a T. And I think Jake Osgood's learning his position in the sport pretty nicely, isn't he?
Absolutely. So touchy gloves between the two of them at the end of the 4 rounds, and that was a worthwhile exercise for Hargreaves. I think they'll be pleased with that. In the red corner, away to our right-hand side. So that's his 4th professional fight, his 4th professional win. That'll be 16 rounds under his belt now. I think maybe they'll look to step him up to 6 rounds in his next fight. And the next challenge really is to get somebody in there with him who's just going to mix it up a little bit more, look to be a bit more ambitious. It's all about pacing, isn't it? You've got to get the right fights at the right time. It really is a fine art.
Plenty to work with though there with Josh Hargreaves, isn't there? He's got a good style to watch. He's going to be in some exciting fights as his career moves on. What level that gets to, whether it's our beloved area title fights or an English title fight, he's going to be good to watch as it goes on.
Appreciation for both boxers. After 4 rounds of action, we go to referee Ron Kearney's scorecard. He scores the contest at 40 points to 36 in favour of your winner from Berkeley, Josh Hargreaves.
So another step on the road there for Josh Hargreaves. Looks good. Good variety, good array of skills. Look forward to seeing him again.
For all boxing info, news and latest interviews, amateur and pro, across the north, click and subscribe. VIP Boxing Promotions. Also Twitter, Instagram and Facebook.